The world is accelerating, technology is moving faster than ever. And somehow, with all this progress we make and all this AI disruption, we as humans are feeling worse. Something's not adding up, and most of us feel it. This is Built Human. I'm Andrew Coca. This is Jon Marchetti. I'm a technology entrepreneur. My day to day is spent building companies. John is a marketing expert. He's my business partner and co founder in some of these companies. And every single day, we work long hours as entrepreneurs. I've spent the better part of a decade tearing down my health and not living the best healthy way possible. And so, this podcast and this effort that we are bringing is a return to health. It's to undo all the damage that we've had. And we are asking the same questions that you probably are. And we're building a platform to amplify what works called Animal Base. It's a marketplace and a media platform. We have very strict standards on what we list because we want people to come on the journey back to health with us. And so the marketplace enables us to put in there what we are working on and experimenting with in our journey back to health. And this podcast is where everything becomes a conversation. So let's do it, John.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, Andrew. So I think this is where I'd like to start with a little bit about where we both are today and what our journeys are. What does today feel like? You mentioned a lot about being a tech founder and how exhausting that is. And I know this has been a particularly busy week. So let's start there.
Yeah. I mean, even just this week, right? Running a couple businesses. In one of our businesses, we had a print deadline for a conference. And the print deadline was to print 400 things to put in the chairs of every seat in that conference. And what goes into that, as you know, is a broader marketing campaign. But then the actual ready for print brief needs to be nitpicked by many stakeholders. It needs to match so many things. It needs to match the technology we actually built. It's a tech company called Source RE. And when we're doing that, maybe we didn't have the longest nights. I don't want to speak for you, but I was looking at our tech team and they were going until 1 a.m. And I'm sitting there thinking, I did this for so many years and I feel bad that some of these guys are doing this. And not everyone in our entire organization is into the health kick that we are. And so I just pictured them. And this is kind of what got me this week is I pictured my team sitting there in their chair, like coding, eating a bag of Doritos and drinking a Pepsi at like 1 a.m. And just doing a number on themselves that maybe that night feels good and they're in the groove, but over time it's just not sustainable. And it's just a picture in my head I had this week, and it's the reality we live day to day.
I think I definitely feel you as one of the marketers that you may do all the extra work and may drink the Pepsi. No, I'm just kidding. I don't drink Pepsi anymore. Um, but no, I think I'm with you where life is too busy these days. We've gone through this a modern era trend where we've shifted to um, ease of use in the world of AI, where we can get things done faster, but that puts a lot more pressure on us to do things faster, right? And like I think I'm on this personal journey right now, and I've been on this personal journey of health for a long time, but it's evolved over time as my diet's changed, as my workout habits changed, as my habits have changed. Right, like I was in an office for 7 years until about this time last year, right, where we really started working a lot closer together, and I started working from home, and I lost my exercise that was walking around the office. I lost my sunshine, which was walking to the bus and back home from the bus. Although back home I was in the office a little late most times, so it didn't really get sunlight. It was definitely darker out at that point in time. But I'm getting married soon, right? And with getting married comes starting a family, and the best time for me to focus on optimizing my health, whatever that means, and learning more about it, and learning more about the people, the products, the practices across. I mean, you named it, right? Eat, live, rest, like these three core facets of life. The time's right now, right? If I want to raise a family the right way and have a healthy, fruitful marriage and relationship long term with my best friend, then this is the best time to do it. So all of that really resonates with me. Um, and yeah, I mean, let's take this and dive right into what we actually built. And maybe Andrew, the way to kick this off is we can talk a little bit about our sourcing with this health journey has become in the form of animal base and breaking down some of this marketing terminology.
That's a great point and a great idea. If you do want to share some of this right now, I think the main thing is when we were starting, it was like, well, how do we know how to filter all of these voices? There's so many people saying so many things. And then as we get started in our journey and we start buying and testing certain products and we start coming up with our own standards, and who we trust and who we don't, and to what extent, because not everything is so black and white. How do we put that into an actionable state? And so that's where animal base here came from, right? You see this marketplace. The cool thing about this is instead of just filtering based on price and brand and things that you may need to already know coming in, we have a bunch of discoverable things on the left in our quality guarantees. So when people care about certain things more than others, because not everyone has to care about everything equally. Maybe someone cares like you just click glyphosate free if that's important,
Right.
right? Or if you want to look at the testing around mold or heavy metals, these types of things. We allow that discoverability to happen more naturally. And I think the main thing here with this marketplace is we wouldn't list anything in there that you or I wouldn't purchase. So it's become a very personal thing for us where it's an extension almost of our journey into health, into reclaiming health, right? Because it's not that we're saying, eat these if you want to look like us. We have the luxury of like, we're not health influencers, we are
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, right? So if anything, we get to invite people to join us on that journey back to health. And that's what I love about this site is because the site is kind of the way we take that journey. It's the bridge we cross to get back to health. And so you've been showing the marketplace, but maybe you'd like to expand either on that, or I mean there's so many things in the site that we use
Yeah.
day to day.
I think you touched on our standards, which is super important for us. And so we do list our standards, obviously, on our site directly so people can learn more about what our non negotiables are, the lines we don't cross, but also some of those more enlightening things within our marketplace as well. We follow a good, better, best philosophy. So as long as you're one, you could be 1% better, you could be 5% better, you can be 10% better, but um, a lot of that boils down on preference, availability, tastes, even, right? Or situations. So the most important thing is taking these non-negotiables that we're showing on screen here, such as no seed oils, no endocrine disruptors or PFAs, no preservatives, no artificial ingredients, right? And we boil this down to three effective groups of standard. It is non-toxic, toxin-free ingredients. It is natural ingredients in the way that they're sourced and the way that they're produced, and then it is ethically sourced ingredients. Ingredients raised the right way with the right practices. Um, and so I'll tease out here, but obviously we don't have to. This is this isn't a sales pitch, right? This is an education vibe where we can share the quality ingredients that it's just we found very helpful in our own sourcing standards. And I nowhere in the stores can I find something that is microplastic free or mycotoxin tested. So I don't know anything about this and what I'm buying. So our goal is to make that super transparent. So that leads directly into the marketplace, as you were talking about, Andrew, which is our course of action, as we call it. Now, I'll let you speak a little bit more of our knowledge base, which we dub as our education pillar.
Yeah, I think the
Education to
biggest
inspire action.
thing with the knowledge base is traditionally as a entrepreneur and a tech builder, you look at an ROI of a feature.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we might not have taken the best ROI focus on this knowledge base because we're not really going to make any money from this. This was a pet thing for me, to be honest with you, in the sense that I kept seeing scientific research pop up from all of the different thought leaders that I follow on Instagram and elsewhere. And I just kept thinking to myself, do I really have to open Instagram and go to people I trust to find scientific research? Or can't I just put this all in one place where it'd be easier to search through and filter through. And so that's what we did. And we took it all, we put it in here. And now, if you want to know the research around something like seed oils, or something like a inflammation, or an expression of inflammation, like a disease or something relevant to you, a cancer, something you're suffering from, and you want to relate that back to the standards and the theme of this lifestyle, you can do so in the knowledge base. And we're only growing the content. We have 100 something compiled. And so hopefully that hits the thousands and continues to grow. But by putting it all in one place, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about our journey back to health being an expression of the site, where I know when I'm going through and I'm trying to make myself better, I'm going to do this research. And so if we can make it easier for others to do that research in the same vein, then power to them, right? And I, even if there's no way for us to sell this or make money on this, I think it fits the theme really well of, we want to help people take action. We want to make vitality more accessible. Actually, if you could pull up the thought leader directory, I think it's very
Sure thing.
similar, right? It's like, not going to make money on this, not really something that from a traditional entrepreneurship product perspective may have been the wisest thing to build. But it's like, how do you define your knowledge breadth, and how do you define maybe which research studies we're going to put into the knowledge base? I think that we can define this and the community by the people. And so by kind of showing which folks we think align with the whole real food, natural living ethos that we share, by putting those all in the thought leader directory, a couple things happen, right? Like, we make it more discoverable for people to find folks that they may want to follow. We also let them find topic areas that they might have important to them. Ben Patrick, knees over toes guy, really important one for me. If people are struggling with knee issues, for example, they could have searched through our thought leader directory and found people like this to help them. I think that's really important for people. But I also think the second thing, the maybe unintended thing, is people can get a feel for who we are by virtue of the thought leaders that we have in this community. Because these are the conversations we want to be having, right? These are the people that make up the community that we consider thought leaders, that we look to. And these are people that we are going to invite onto podcasts, that we're going to have conversations with in person or at conferences or events. And these are the types of people that the knowledge and the research that they procure will make their way into the knowledge base as well. And so often these are also people who have products and can become suppliers for brands in the marketplace. So a couple key points there, I think, for knowledge base and thought leader directory, right? It's like, from a product perspective, they're nice, but I think from an identity perspective, they're crucial.
Completely agree. And to emphasize it again, I think that what's most important, because you've been on the journey for a lot longer than I have, right? And I think for me, being able to find experts that I can trust, and or research that is true to the point, what we're trying to learn, and shows science-backed evidence that supports that what I'm doing is actually right, instead of a fad, right? Like, we've all seen the butter in your coffee trend, or um, one I haven't done enough research in, but I still, out of sense of placebo effect, do every now and then, is tart cherry juice at night is supposed to make you sleepier. I don't think that's actually true. I haven't done the research. We need to actually do the research on that. But these are some examples of fads that we're seeking to centralize and debunk. So education inspires action, action builds community. So those are the three pillars that have really brought us to life, and together this can form an infrastructure that starts on our site and spreads far beyond our site, and throughout the people that we're meeting as well. So fantastic overview. I want to take us to the food dye reckoning, actually, something that's been in the news lately and is a point of emphasis, from compared to articles in our knowledge base. And so what this is West Virginia became the first state to ban several petroleum-based dyes statewide in March. So this is red 40. This is yellow 5. These are all the dyes that we know are harmful, or at least have been told are harmful, and provide no real benefit, right? Chemically derived, petroleum derived dyes. This is the it became a key talking point for RFK in March as well as part of the Maha movement. And a lot of companies are responding to this. So PepsiCo, Hershey, uh, JM Smucker, right? They're all responding to it and reformulating. But I think the better question, as good as this is, right? Like we're banning dyes, we're taking toxins out of our food. The better question is, why have these dyes been allowed in our food for 50 plus years and approved in our foods by the FDA for 50 plus years, right? So Red 40 has been in our supply chain for 50 since the 70s, right? So that's 56 years. Um, and so just now these companies are being told and informed that they have to make a change, thus they are making a change. But is this really a win for us? Is this really a win for our community? Andrew, what's your perspective on dyes? How do you have them in our home, and do you view this as a win for us more broadly?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question to ask in that I think capture and scientific capture is something that we've seen where research studies are designed in a way where whoever is funding them has a thesis that is beneficial to them. Otherwise, why would they fund it, right? And so when you have companies that are using things like Red 40 and these other petroleum based dyes, is it in their benefit to ask, are these ingredients healthy? Why would they put any money to fund research like this, right? And so I could see why maybe there's not research that's screamed this is bad for the last 50 years until recently, maybe, and people are getting very upset about this. And now there's research and there's studies, and uh, but I think the big question, like you said, is why now? Why not 50 years ago? How have we lived like this for 50 years? And I think that's part and parcel of the problem with many of these different toxins and bad things that we have in our daily life. Not to be scared of them by any means, but to really reclaim your health, you have to at least be aware of them. And if, for example, I wanted to eat something that had Red 40 in it today, I might not be afraid to eat it, right? But I think at least I know. At least I know. And I think we'll talk marketing on this show all the time, but that's what gets me about the world really in marketing is the health and wellness marketing will tell you something is healthy, or at least it won't even flag at all that it could be unhealthy, unless of course it's things that are actually good for you, like healthy fats like tallow. They're going to say high calorie, high saturated fat. They're going to make you flag that, but they're not going to make you flag the red 40s, which is ridiculous. But again, I think it's not to be scared of all of these things. It's more so that if you don't even know it's in there and you don't even know it's bad for you, and you're just living your life without that knowledge, and it's accumulating the effect of eating this way and doing a number on your body like this over many years, that's what sickens me, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, at least tell people, at least people can know that this is not good for them. And then if they decide to do it because the trade-off for them is, oh, just I really love this product and it has it in there, then power to you, because at least you're living your life on your terms. It's when there's just no knowledge of it that it's almost just you're taking advantage of people and they don't know any better. And I think that's the worst part about all this for the last 50 years is just no one knew any better, right?
And this is where I have trouble with the FDA in general, right? Like it's this administration that's supposed to be in charge of food and drugs that are healthy for you, or at least not, maybe I shouldn't say healthy, not damaging. Um, and to me, FDA approved comes off as a marketing, or at least we grew up in this era where it was a marketing label that says, oh, it's FDA approved, it's safe for human consumption, right? And now safe can take many different terms. Safe in their specific doses, probably, but what happens when you eat it over time? I mean, we have a health epidemic in the US, right? Like it's very clear that people have consumed these in large enough doses to have an impact. So you can't tell me that it's FDA approved because this one dose in a snack pack is acceptable. But then when you go through a massive bag, because we don't sell snack packs anymore because the calories on that thing are just not enough to satiate us. So you can't tell me that it's safe. anymore. You can't slap that FDA label on there, or at least I don't trust an FDA label anymore without doing my own research, without having my own standards, which brings us back to a lot of what we've discussed with animal based in general. And I want to tell an anecdotal story too, because you make a good point. As long as you know, right? There's things that help you become 1% better every single day. But on the flip side of that, there are things that help you be one or assist you in becoming 1% worse every single day. I think before we planned this podcast, we were riffing on what equipment to buy and getting ready to set up our studio. And I had sent my cart to
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 you,
you.
and
And
at the very
at the very
bottom of the
bottom of the
cart, I had
card, I had
saved for
saved for
later
later.
uh, a pack of Sour Patch Kids cherry blasters, which are phenomenal, by the way. I, as someone who lives in the United States, had only seen those in Canada. I could never buy them in the United States. So I had made sure to save the link. So whenever I wanted to have them, rarely, sparingly, I would know exactly where to go for them. But that's an example of I acknowledge that I'm not eating cherry blashes every day. Actually, I honestly I don't think I've had them within the last calendar year at all. Yet they're still saved in my cart. But it's an example of being conscious, right? Like that's not going to become a staple in my diet. I know it's bad for me. I feel bad after I eat even just a small packet. Um, but I found it really funny in preparing for this as I stare at it, because I actually made the comment to you, I believe, that oh no, we've eliminated dyes from our household entirely. I can't think of a single thing that has dyes in it. Meanwhile, my Amazon cart has something with dyes in it. So um, it's hard. It's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. I'm glad a state's admitting it, right? That it's bad and harmful. Um, but it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
no
hard.
kidding, right? Like I think the Sour Patch Kids is a good example too, where you're not really gonna find a animal-based Sour Patch Kids or
Yeah.
like a. I mean, actually you might. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Like next thing we know, tomorrow we're gonna have a supplier that's like an alternative, but
Well, I have
it's a
another one for that. In the middle of COVID, what started trending was if you took your grapes, cut them in half, squirted lime juice on them, and froze them, and
oh
they
my
had the
god.
consistency of Sour Patch Kids, but they were sour because of the grapes. And it actually, honestly, they taste delicious. You can kind of find mass produced versions in the
Somebody
grocery store
listening
now.
should make this please into a product because we'll list it tomorrow on the marketplace and I will
It's
be
definitely a
buying.
product now, but I do not trust what's in it. I have to look up what the product is, and I don't know. Maybe we got to evaluate it, but uh, someone definitely took it, but I don't think they took the healthy approach.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to tell you about my cheats because actually I don't have one so specifically like that, but I think what I've done a good job of is swapping what used
Yeah,
to be cheats like ice cream for bears kind of thing, or
yeah,
I sent John on Instagram, I sent you like this sourdough chocolate chip cookie brand that I was like, list this in the marketplace because I have a sweet tooth and it's been hard with the last year of getting back to health with just like going cold turkey on a lot of these things. And um, it's back to that question too sometimes of like, what is life about? Life is to be lived. You want to feel good. You want to live your life. And
yeah,
so you don't want to just take all these little joys of life out if that's something that is important to you, but you also don't want to be defined by them and you don't want to
yeah,
be prisoner to them. And what is good for your life and living your life is being healthy, right? And being fit and having high fitness. So if you can marry the two, that would be great, but definitely don't use it as a crutch to keep them in your diet. But that's why I like this whole finding the better alternatives. That
yeah,
way, when we can find them and we can add them to our routines, uh, it's not going to conflict with your values. And I
yeah.
think that's what's really important about a lot of that.
Yeah, that actually brings us perfectly back to the topic at hand in West Virginia, where we have Nestle and Smuckers and all these others now scrambling for alternatives, or at least investing in alternatives. Right? Like, do we trust those alternatives? I think I have a gut perspective on this, right? And it's no. We've gone for years that these are profit seeking companies that are mass brands that find ways to make things a lot cheaper, and I don't know that they can find a dye cheaper that is within the health guidelines that we're actually looking for without falling back into this idea of toxic food dyes, right? So I'm curious to see how it evolves, but at this point these companies have lost my trust to say that any new ingredient they put in order to um, have a more, I shouldn't even say more natural alternative. They're not going to go with a more natural alternative, especially looking at the rest of the ingredient list. But in order to get around the
Yeah.
dye conversation, um, I just don't trust the next engineered food ingredient. I'm curious to
Yeah.
see what it is, and I can't wait to pick it apart.
No doubt. I don't I think it's more than just a gut says no. It's like demonstrably it's been you can't trust them. So,
Yep,
and
exactly.
good for us because we'll find the brands that we can trust and we'll put them in the marketplace and we'll solve a problem, right? If
Yeah,
you could trust these brands, then there would be no problem for us to solve. But unfortunately, you can't trust.
100%. Let's let's pivot here to a brand that we do have in the marketplace, or shouldn't say brand. Paul Saladino's on our marketplace, but Lineage is, and his products are in the marketplace. But within March, he caught a little fire on the release of his protein bar. It's super interesting because you have two sides of the aisle: the people that know and follow Paul and have for a long time, that know that this protein bar is completely in his standards and what he looks for in food, real food, right? But on the other side of the aisle, and he's getting a lot of blowback, especially from people that don't know him or know him in passing and have, let's call it, preconceived notions, right? Because they're looking at his prior content, his historical content has been so restrictive. Some could say, right? And they look at this and say, "Wait a second, are you going back on what you said? This does this enable processed foods? Because it is a processed food. It's not a real food, right?" So there's been a lot of backlash within this release, and so curious to hear when you saw this drop and you saw both sides of the story. Like, what was your reaction, especially being, uh, you know, a follower of Paul's?
Well, I think the core for me is that I'm an entrepreneur at heart, not just a technology entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur, right? And as an entrepreneur, you marshal resources to solve problems. And when I look at what Paul did, like I guess I get it why people might be upset, but personally, I would never ever even thought, why did you do that, right? I like to see people evolve their perspectives. As your frame of reference expands, as you mature as a human being, you would only think that the meaning you create evolves. It gets more accurate to your expanded frame of reference. You learn, you change, you adapt. That's the cycle of progression of maturity of a human being, right?
Yep.
So I don't mind that at all. And whether you agree or not, sure, right? You can disagree. Uh, I think the some of the backlash had been around, oh, you're selling something, you're only making content to sell, and now you've launched a product that you're trying to sell with your content, and it's like, well, man, you must not understand how the world works, and you're gonna single one guy out for selling one thing. I mean, I want to sell things. I'm an entrepreneur. We run 4 companies. Someone going to tell me that when we make content for one of our companies, like it's only to sell something? Like, give me a break, right? Like, I think everyone's asking the wrong questions. The question that should be being asked is is there value to this product? Is the product solving a problem? Is the
Mhm.
product of a nature that solves a problem that wasn't solved before? And I think all of those things are yes for Paul's. I think it was the protein bar, right? It was like for many other protein bars, they have a lot of bad things in them. Wow, here's one that doesn't. Shouldn't we celebrate that, right? And so I I think it's just funny to me. I might have a different perspective than a lot of people because I'm an entrepreneur at heart, but I get excited when people come up with innovative products. Usually that's on a technology software type sense, right? People are coming up with a new app or a new AI, right? But hey, on the CPG sense and when you're making goods, like that needs some innovation too. I think that's why we're all here, right? So I think we should celebrate when more and more of these products get launched that actually solve some of these problems.
Yeah, and I understand the backlash from the perspective of a consumer that feels like they're being told what to do, but it has to be this way, right? Not that there are options. And not to say he said that, but it's an example of marketing where it can appear that way or come off that way, especially if you're not a follower, especially if you're seeing a lot of the videos in the wild clipped by others. And let's face it, he is an influencer. We aren't health influencers. He is an influencer that is going to be clipped by other influencers, and his words are going to be twisted that way. Can't
Well,
wait until that becomes twisted another way
yeah.
because
I mean,
as we put more
that
out.
crazy thing about that though is like we can't control the algorithm either, right? So like
Exactly.
let's say he put out 10 pieces of content that were really well rounded, then it's like to your point, like only one of those may take off and then everyone's only seeing this like very specific in your face type of content and then they're like, "Wow, very rigid, very come at me with something you need me to do," but then there's like nine other pieces of content that were really well rounded that just the algorithm didn't prioritize those because it prioritized the style that you're mad about in the first place.
Which is just such a fallacy with social media and living online in general today in this modern era. I mean, we see it, right? Like we're trying to grow and spread awareness by the best way how, which is social media. We're doing it. We're trying. We're taking advantage of it, not maliciously, at least not intentionally maliciously. And one of the first posts we had that caught a little bit of fire was what we deemed the red meat argument. We said we had two sides of the aisle. Red meat is good for you. Red meat is bad for you. And we actually never stuck a claim in any of it. Obviously, our name, Animal Base, takes a certain claim, but then the comments went wild underneath it of perspectives and people who took it one way. And it was all like
Yeah.
negative comments very, very early on in our posting. But we were like, why is this post taking off? Oh, because people are just mad about it. And so the algorithm
Yeah.
feeds posts that you're mad about. It feels friction, which it's almost impossible to get out of in today's world.
Yeah. Fuels friction. I think that's well said.
Yeah, and so to offer my perspective on the protein bar itself, getting back to the point of where we started on this one. Um, I try to be a very active human, and I love things like skiing. For instance, I grew up and live in the Northeast, so not too far away from mountains. I am not gonna bring a grass fed ribeye with me on the mountain, as delicious as that sounds. Actually, could travel well because it's so cold out. But I have no way of reheating it, right? So like this is an example where yes, eat whole foods. That is the best thing for you. Eat real beef that's fed right, that's raised right. Eat fruits, eat drink milk, eat cheese. All of these components that are just super healthy for you. But in the pinch, we're in a modern era. We are running. We're working every single day. We want to ski on the slope for 10 hours and we don't want to have the chicken fingers in the lodge. You're already making a good decision by not having the chicken fingers in the lodge. If you bring a protein bar like Paul's Lineage, or even like I have a protein bar. This is my breakfast right here. All right, I shouldn't say breakfast. We're recording it at noon here. So this is my lunch, but I have a Jacob Bar protein bar, which is made with far better ingredients than anything I see on the shelves across grocery stores, right? And I have been in that situation where I'm training, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm running a half marathon or whatever it is, and I stare at the protein bar options, and there's a million of them, and I look over every single label, and it's not clear because they're all made with so many ingredients and fillers and sugars, and so you're met with decision paralysis. You don't know what to do, and at least this is very simple, right? Like if I had to read the ingredients off for Paul specifically: grass-fed whey, grass-fed beef tallow, raw organic honey, organic coconut nectar, organic freeze-dried fruit, salt. I
Fantastic.
needed an extra finger there, but it was a lot better than
Yeah.
a store-bought brand.
Yeah, it's I think because he pioneered a lot of this, the whole anti-seed oil movement, he must just be held to like
Yeah,
godlike standards that no human could ever meet or something for there to be backlash, especially,
totally.
you read those ingredients, it's like fantastic ingredients. Why
Yeah,
why why get mad?
exactly.
Be glad, go build your own product and get involved, Like don't get mad at other people getting
Yeah,
involved.
exactly. And
Support each
if that
other,
is
right?
totally 100%. Yeah, like that's the other problem with social media, which we can get into a whole other episode. But it's not community building, despite that being the common tagline between all these different sources. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we have the same perspective. Whole foods, real ingredients, always the best. But I mean, if you were going to make an alternative living in the modern era, as long as it's made with real ingredients, to the best possible sourcing, or even avoiding some sugars, some toxins in the first place, that's the best decision you can make for yourself.
Totally.
And I think that's a good transition for you, Andrew, to talk about a little bit of what you're testing lately. You just moved into a new house. You're always optimizing your diet. Um, I don't know. What's one thing you're
Yeah.
testing lately that you want to share with me, with our viewers?
When I moved into this place, I just and I maybe I'd watched these Instagram reels where there's just gunk coming out of the faucets, and the filters are all gunky after you swap them, but I just had this like feeling that the water was dirty coming from the shower heads, and of course, lo and behold, like, it was a shower head that was like 15 years old, and so it probably truly was pretty gunky. And so the I think the day after I moved in, I got one of those red light shower filters that you see from Higher Dose, where it like has the red light shining at you, and
That's
it's
on my
a shower
registry.
head.
I
Well,
want that so bad. That's on my registry, man. You
I
might
think
have to
you'll
get
get
it
it.
from me.
I might have to. I mean, you better put more like wellness stuff on your registry and entice me to get you some things. So,
Oh, that's
but
amazing.
but
Yeah,
like that was the first thing I did, right? It was like, oh my gosh, get some clean water, since I shower daily. I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm gonna just wear my own oil, especially if you work out and you wear clothes after you work. Like, I don't know, it's not
yeah,
natural. So I prioritized my showering like day one, basically. But I didn't want to stop there, right? Because water and the contact with your skin coming from the tap sources is just so bad, typically, with the heavy metals, the chlorine, the fluoride. And I just I'm debating still. Like, what I'm not necessarily testing but debating is, do I get one of those whole home systems that does the reverse osmosis to your water system, and then all of the taps that have water from showers to sinks, they all have that reverse osmosis water, right? Or do I just put filters on any of the ones that I'm using heavily, and then at that point I can drink it as well if I do the reverse osmosis. But if I do the filters, maybe I don't drink it, maybe I get spring water. So all of this debate I'm going through, I haven't settled on it. But how do I optimize my water? I spend a good amount of money right now on a water delivery from Mountain Valley, I think, like spring water. And so that's in uh, a dispenser, right? And so I get water that way for drinking or cooking with, right?
yeah,
But would a reverse osmosis system actually be worse because it's not like, it doesn't have minerals that come from a spring water source? So it's that kind of thing. It's then there was a point brought up where, if you did it at the system level for the house, are the pipes dirty? Is it better to filter at the actual tap instead of
yeah,
at the system level? And my argument there is probably like, well, you've run it enough over, gosh, I don't know, a month, a few months, like probably it gets clean enough. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm making that up. But these are things that I'm not sure on, right? I'm actively researching this kind of thing, and I'm just debating back and forth, and I'm sure I'll make a decision in the near future.
yeah. It's interesting because I am less familiar with the water system of doing your house over, and maybe that's just a facet of us living in two different locations too, right? Um, of how like common practice that is, or knowledgeable those systems are. The first thing that came to my mind was, well, okay, you're filtering the water from, I guess, the source, but then you are going through the pipe. So is there heavy metals built up in the pipes? Do the pipes need to be made out of a certain material to prevent heavy metal contamination, something like that? So I'm interested to see if you wind up going that route. Doing some water tests, right, and seeing what that looks like. Take a sample of your old water too. Sample of your old water, some water tests with the new system if you go that route. And then I know you do have the filtered shower head, jealous, but then take some samples of that water and compare them. I'm very curious to see what you find. I think water for me is one of those interesting things because we're primarily made of water, so everything that gets leached into our skin or that we do consume is derived from water and where it's sourced from. But it's one of those things that you almost can't tell the difference, or at least not right away when you make the right changes, right? And how you consume it or put it on you. So it's hard to test and judge and have definitive, tangible results. I know from the research, obviously, right, it's better for me. But the difference is eating grapes and eating Sour Patch Kids. One makes me feel a heck of a lot better. Water for me is a lot
Yeah.
tougher. Um, so actually, I'm curious. I am curious to hear with the shower head that you have. Like, have you felt the difference? Like, how is that manifested in your home?
Well, I think to the touch, the water is definitely literally filtered and not gunky. Like you could see in the other shower head, like it was getting
Got it.
pretty gunky from the tap water. So I think like you can feel the difference in the water. So you know that the water is actually clean. Uh, but that being said, how does it make you feel is a different story because
Yeah.
feeling it to the touch is more just like a maybe a preference thing or just like it bothers you mentally thing. It's not like a how do you actually feel thing. And I
Yeah.
think to your point, we obviously try to be as data driven and feedback loop oriented as possible. And with some of these things, it's like you're trusting research from sources that you, I guess, trust themselves, and then you're saying I'm going to take this action, or you have to feel differently or have a different an experience for you to want to take that action, because sometimes otherwise it's placebo, and sometimes it is placebo. So here I think there maybe it's a little bit of placebo, but I think knowing that I'm taking an action in line with values that I hold dearly makes me feel good, and so
Hmm.
probably contributes to any placebo happening with like, oh, I have clean water. And
Yeah.
then of course I'm sure with the research and with the long-term effects of downregulation of genetic expression because of toxins or lack of toxins, all that kind of research, like that will have an effect over time.
Yeah.
But any to your point, I think like any placebo effect or any oh my god, I feel good effect may even come from the fact that I've made an intentional choice and
Hmm.
decision to take action in line with values that I hold dear. And I feel good for having done that. I feel good because I have clean water. I know that something little in my routine is benefiting me, not harming me, and that it's going to add up a little bit more and more over time. I think the
1% better.
performance, yeah, right. And I think the performance entrepreneur in me from, managing little bits of performance improvements over time compounding into success in business maybe feels that a little bit too in the routine day to day and going, hey, if I know something that I don't even have to put a shred of effort into is going to help me minuscule every single day and compound over time, that's really nice. I think the ones that I struggle with are the ones where it's like, okay, I know I could do something a little bit better, but it's like, it's really hard to unwind a habit or a routine sometimes. Whereas something as easy as a shower head is something that you install once and you don't have to do anything differently, right? It's like you're
Right.
setting yourself up to worry about one less thing. So I think that's why I'm really happy with it, at least for now.
Awesome.
And then I think we'll talk plenty about this in future episodes, but just there's gonna be
Yeah.
so many little things like that we try to optimize and try to get that 1% better daily type of feel.
I'm holding off from asking you about the red light too, because I am really, really curious. But I know we'll save that one for a future episode. Um, so the you've obviously done the research, right? You're weighing what you're putting into action, and so it sounds like the three options in front of you are keep the filter shower heads, replace the system within it, or keep the current system. But the current system really isn't an option for you in your mind. Are there any other like methods or businesses that can help you get a similar result other than those two main options?
I don't think so. I've filled out some online forms and trying to get quotes and understand what the cost mechanics are. I'll probably share some of that in future too if
Nice.
anyone's interested. Like because there is a probably a more upfront cost with doing a whole house system, right? And if you can trust the results of that and you can trust the water coming from taps, then hey, maybe over time, like replacing filters equals that cost and it would have been
Yeah.
better to do the whole house system. So just trying to
Yeah.
get a feel for those mechanics.
This made me think of, I was just recently out in Arizona, as you know, and there was a pool where we were staying, and it had salt water in it, which I think is becoming a hot trend if it hasn't already caught fire to this point. So even just, I'm curious for us to dive into, not here in this segment of this podcast, but the benefits of salt water versus, definitely better than chlorine water, but like spring water and filtered water as well. Um, so something for the future, something for the future. But as we
Deal.
wrap up our first podcast here, I think, well, you're in the fantasy championship. You want to let our viewers know, you have the right to brag here. I don't have the right to brag. You want to let
I don't
our
have
viewers
it on me yet.
know?
Next time I'll come with the fantasy hockey cup, the trophy that we have. It's one of our friends made a like a mini keg or something into a Stanley Cup looking thing and we've been joking that since we're into health and wellness so much we'll drink raw milk out of it instead of beer or something. So but no, it's I won last year. My brother won the 2 years before, and right now I'm in the championship. So this time next episode, I'll come to you with my back to back championship, and that trophy's not going to Boston anytime soon. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I have some clear expletives that I'll save for when we end this stream. But you did beat me last year in the championship. I was a heavy favorite up until the last 2 days when you pulled away. Um, I was a heavy favorite this year. Earned a bye week, right? Earned a bye week. Was the best team in the league. Couldn't make a roster decision on who to cut when I needed to pick someone up. My roster was so good, and somehow I'm leading all six or 7 days last week against Milkman. I guess that that's an ironic title for this podcast, but his name was Milkman, and he pulled away on Sunday. I almost didn't pick up 2D, so I didn't drop anyone in order to, because I thought I had in the bag, and then he, even after I picked up two people to fill up my roster, he put me in the hole. So here I am, just taking on your dad for third place, and I will never be the victor. I am always the bridesman
You're
maid,
cursed.
never the bride.
That's so funny. Yeah, you're cursed. We'll come back with the results. Hopefully, I've actually won when we talk about this, and I'm not the one who's lamenting like you are. But I think
Lamenting's a wrong word.
I
There,
think
there, there's much darker words I want to use.
yeah, I bet. I think people will any hockey fans out there will like you and I. Anyone who's into hockey, I mean, they'll see if you looked at my wall, you have my signed OV picture and my signed Landeskog picture holding the cup. I know you don't like
Yeah,
my OV picture, but
yeah,
any real hockey fan would. So
yeah. You have that, and I have my Bruins paraphernalia in the back. My Bobby Orr signed puck, my goalie mask. I think that's going to be a fun one for people to digest. That I have the mindset of a goalie. Um, and of course my
yeah,
Brady jersey, because
of
that
course
that
you
guy is an
do.
absolute psycho when it comes to just real routine and
Yeah,
and food and eating habits. So one day I'll grow up to be just like Brady. One day.
one day.
Oh man, awesome. Well, anything else you want to say to the viewers here as we conclude the first one? I think from my perspective, we have a lot
Yeah.
more to share. A lot more fun guests coming up.
Yeah, welcome to Built Human. Thanks for coming on the journey with us. I'm excited. I think all we're doing is trying to make our own journeys easier with everything we're building here. So hopefully it's making your journey a little bit easier as well.
Yep. All right. We'll see you in episode 2.